And I'm just a regular Joe. I'm just a citizen who's trying to earn a living. I live in Los Angeles now, and I came here because of my skill set. I'm an actor, I'm a writer, and I'm a production assistant. And basically, all you got to do is be a glorified truck driver. That's what you got to do. You got to be able to, to think quick on your feet and live in the moment. And I got all that training, and I'm very proud of myself, regardless of my family or my former friends. So this is my narrative for this story. I can't remember what I named it a long time ago. This would be perfect for a person like Jay Farrow. These are scripts that people can put into, you get a script writing book and you can write it over the weekend. You add your own dialogue. You try to make it as snappy as possible. He's the one who has these kind of connections. I certainly don't. When I was a production assistant, it was the 1990s. It was in the BC era, I call it, before computers. So here's the narrative, and it should be played by the same actor because you want to use identical twins. And this is a little bit based on my own life. In case you guys watch my other episodes, I talk to you about living in downtown Detroit and always going to Elmore Leonard's favorite spot, 1300 Beaubien. So what happens is you have two identical twin brothers. And I think Jay Farrow would be perfect for this because he's actually funny. But you want to put him in a serious series. Why? Because when he's funny, and he naturally is, it'll pop. Like it'll be really funny. It'll be a welcome relief to all this mayhem, possible violence. But we don't want to be too cliche, and I think we can really pull this off. I think it's a great idea. I brought it up the other day. And so you have two brothers, and obviously I could see the two sides of my own life. I could have stayed back in my old neighborhood and ran with that set and that crew, and I tried to better my life, and then here I find out 30 years later, everyone turned on me. They're all completely programmed by their device, and you gotta be careful if you're online. These algorithms are dangerous, and they can be used against you, and there is no repercussions for the people involved. They'll never get caught, and it's really pretty shameful. But like I said, I keep going. I'm 57 years old, in case you don't know. I was born in 1966. So you have the two brothers, and one of them obviously is more of a neighborhood guy, and then the other one gets talked into joining the police department. Now, how I was talked into almost joining the police department was that I was catching shoplifters. So you have this very similar narrative. The two brothers, one of them could, have their job. There's all these security guard jobs, you know what I mean? And tons of people work as security guard jobs. And so eventually he has to show up to court, and they're trying to put somebody in jail for shoplifting, right? Because, like I said, right now, they'll let you steal up to $900. But guess what? Break the $900 mold, you got grand larceny. That's why they're saying it's $900. They're giving it a ceiling, aren't they? You go over that grand larceny, now they're going to target you. Now they're going to come after you. And it's really funny because recently they had in the news media, they were like, see, in case your first time watching this, I don't really buy into many of these media deep blue headlines. Many of them are untraceable. You don't know who wrote them, and they're coming at you at such a terrific rate. It's really, truly, it's a little staggering, and I don't give them much weight at all. But there was a headline recently, and they said, Gen Z are okay with having the government keeping track of you and monitoring you right inside your house. Hey, Alexa, play John Mayer. They already are. Through your device, right? Through Alexa, through Siri, through your television set. Your television set is more than likely a Samsung. Samsung comes out of North Korea. How come we don't talk about, not North Korea, South Korea? Those could be spying devices for Korea. We don't think about it in those terms, right? Because everything is subjective. Everything is fear-mongering, and everything is separating Gen Z I'm Gen X. They're trying to separate boomers and the not so silent generation. That's what my family were, my parents were. And so anyways, they have this notion that, Gen Z is going to let it. It's already happening. And so that's the trick. That's what they're doing. They're letting this information out and they're making it look like you're so smart, but Gen Z is so stupid. When the fact is, this panopticon, as I like to call it, has been here the entire time. So that's why I came to Los Angeles, because I'm a creative person. And I'm not really into the alt-right or the alt-left or anything like that. I'm here to work as a creative person. I play guitar, I write songs, and I write stories. Those stories are available right now on Kindle through a paywall. But if they take it down, then I'll go ahead and put them up for free, just to show you that I have to roll with the changes too. So you obviously have this guy. They're two brothers, and one of them's a little bit more hood, right? You're going to have that. No two brothers are going to be alike, and why should they be? But guess what? They are physically exact. They're exact replicas of each other, right? And so when I went and got my 23andMe, they told me that Malcolm Gladwell, right, the author and revisionist, I'm a revisionist as well, he's in my mother's haplogroup, right? And I was always wondering, well, what if the Boston Strangler's in your haplogroup? Right? Did you ever notice that John Wayne Gacy was a Democrat and Bundy was a Republican? Did you ever notice that? It's pretty scary stuff. I try not to get too political, but you can't help it. I try not to bring up race too much, but you can't help it. It's there, right? So we talk about these things, but not to the extent where we want to put on a beret and change our name to Shay. Okay? I think most people walk the middle line, where if you're older and you're male, you might be a little bit more conservative. If you're younger and you're female, you might be a little bit more liberal. So why do we have all these videos of people yelling at each other over this stuff? There's going to be differences in people, okay? So it's just a natural thing. We're all Americans. That's the most important thing. And we're all citizens of this earth. So again, that's why I came here. I came here to get work and not to be targeted and harassed. And if you're going to go around calling somebody a fish, well, I've been here almost 2 years. So I think the fish is now a shark, right? Now I'm a land shark. You better know that's right. So basically what happens is you can kind of see where we're going with this, right? You have the one brother who's going to be stay in the hood, and you're going to have the other brother who's going to be courted for the police department, right? And of course, more than likely, they're going to be raised by their mother. I always like this dynamic. You know, you want to have the father-daughter dynamic. You want to have the mother-son dynamic, right? And so what I do on this show is I come up with a lot of ideas, and then maybe by the end of the week, we could actually have this thing almost written. Like I said, what I was working on before was called We Are Martian. And the scary thing about We Are Martian is that they're not using the fight or flight part of their brain. They actually put the left side of their brain and the right side of their brain grew together. So when they go to eliminate any of their quote-unquote competition, which includes the Earthlings, they're not going to do it, not only going to do it methodically, but they're going to actually make an art out of killing you. They're going to make an artistic painting out of your death. That is the true scary part of joining the two hemispheres of your brain together. And if you're going to be, right, somebody's enemy. So we have a similar situation right here with this unknown story. I don't know what you want to call it, but the Doppelgang sounds like the Apple Dumpling Gang. Too much, right? I like Disney. I like all that wholesome stuff. Chitty chitty, bang bang. I love all that stuff. I'm 57 years old. Like I said, I really like that wholesome stuff. Why? Because I saw the raw grittiness of what the streets are really like. And anyone who has a close-knit family, just make sure you try to keep it that way. I see a lot of homeless people, and what they don't have are friends and family. That's number one. Okay? That's number one. They don't have any friends and family. And that is just a fact. So you can't deny that. But anyway, so you have the same actor playing both parts. And one of them you're going to say is traditionally good, and you're going to see that one becomes bad. Well, it's not that cut and dry. We know life is like that. And so the one who stays in the neighborhood, of course, he gets wrapped up into something. And what do they have in every single neighborhood? They have these check cashing places, okay? And every single I'm talking about low income neighborhoods, right? And again, I talk about this all the time about raising yourself up out of your social stratum, because if you live in the hills over here, even in the hills over here, right? Can't really see them too well, but right, you could be as rich as you want. You could live right up there in the heavenly bills, in the Hollywood Hills, actually. But what are you going to want next? You're going to want a Learjet. You're going to want another house somewhere else. You're always going to keep striving for more and more and more, right? So that's why I try to strip things down, try to keep things really simple in terms of what we're talking about, in terms of narrative, because I'm laying the groundwork. And as a songwriter, I would do the same thing. I would find a hook. That's the most important thing, right? Is the hook, right? A lot of people are going to see the Hollywood Vampires now. Well, they're a cover band, and that's a lot of fun too. I would love to see them. I like them. They do Jim Carroll, all the people who died. I like that guy. He wrote Basketball Diaries. They made a film out of it. I urge you to see this film. It's Mark Wahlberg and Leo DiCaprio. And Bruno Kirby. Bruno Kirby's in it. He was in not only Spinal Tap, but The Godfather. Anyway, so Godfather 2. So you have the two brothers, and one's getting courted to become a police officer because that's who he's hanging with because of his job. And I lived this life too. I saw it right inside Trapper's Alley. That's now the Greektown Casino in Detroit. That's where I came up. And so he's being courted to become a police officer. Well, the other one's kind of running the streets, just selling a little bit of weed. There's nothing wrong with that. Selling a little bit of yay. I mean, that's how you come up. That's how it's always been. And so they have one of these check cashing places, and they have them in all these they call them low income neighborhoods. And that's the place that you want to rob. And how you do it is this. How you do it is you jump down from the roof on top of the owner when he gets there. And you got him. As soon as he has the keys in the door and turns, boom, you jump down just like Spider-Man. Okay? And you got him. That's it. The door's open. He's on the ground. And now all your buddies who are hiding, you got two over here, you got 5 guys. You got Spider-Man. All right. And you got the guys coming, whoosh. They call it a bum rush. Boom, here they come. Now you got all your boys. You drag them inside, and you have them go to the safe. And that's all you want, right? You want to get that cash. So what happens is, obviously, eventually, it'd be nice to kind of keep their mouths shut. Now, they're a tight-knit group of about 5 guys. The place got robbed, but they have their idea about who did it. But it's not like today where there's cameras every freaking where. Besides, they have masks on, so they kind of have an idea who did it. And it's almost like Goodfellas, where the guy shows up with a pink Cadillac, he's like showing off his money, but the other ones don't say nothing, right? And so now you could start getting into murders, just like in Goodfellas, where it's just like, all of a sudden one of the guys gets pinched and you don't know if he's going to rat on the rest of the guys or not, right? You just don't know. So, you've got this little bit of intrigue here. And so you can have some time go by. Now, the brother says, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and join the academy. So what does it take? I think it only takes about 9 months. You take some tests. He has somebody, like, they wanted to recruit me. Don't worry about it. You're in a... this is the lie that they told me anyway. You're only a uniformed police officer for about a year or two. And then we'll get you your silver shield. And then, you go from there. You'll be a detective. You could just drive around and do what you want. Well, now we know that, well, I don't want to get too far ahead of the thing anyways. So, obviously, you have the intrigue of the brother who gets involved in crime a little bit. But don't forget, now he's just as smart as his brother who joined the police force, right? And so now you've got this understanding where it's like perhaps they can actually start working off of each other a little bit, right? Like his brother might feed him a little bit of information, feed his police officer brother a little bit of information, but then you can see how this might cause a little bit of rivalry, right? The one guy who's a police officer who, you got to do that time lapse, the 2 years goes by, he becomes a plainclothes detective, right? And so he needs a little help on the streets. Hey, why don't you ask your brother? Well, I don't really, I'm not so sure I want to ask my brother. I don't want to get my brother involved in all this, right? So he's a little bit protective. And then you have the police officers goading him. Come on, man. Well, your brother knows all those guys. You know them too. No. I don't know him. My brother knows these guys. I don't know him. Well, there was a murder in that cash checking place, and that was 2 years ago. Hey, if it's a murder, it's an open case. We have to keep this case open, right? So you have this pressure building up, right? So you can see where we're going with this, right? And you can see how it's very well known nowadays. Like back a long time ago, you have this whole Western, these Westerns where you got the white hat and the black hat, right? You got Black Bart, the old bad guy with the big old mustachio. Yeah, right? All these types of cliches, right? And we know that life isn't really like that. And so you have to make it a lot more adult, right? And because of, shows like The Sopranos and The Wire, you have to make these people a little bit more three-dimensional, right? But it's really about where we're heading with this. And you could see there's a film, I think it's with Treat Williams. It's called Prince of the City, right? And you could see a film like that. And so you could kind of see where we're going with this. When I was coming up, I was watching films in the 1970s and the 1980s. I am the son of the midnight movies. Moreover, you would have art house films. You would have foreign films, right? I talk about this a little bit. You have... I was joking a little bit before about Cinema Paradiso, right? It was all right. You have costume dramas. I really like costumes because there's so many things that go into making a film. It's not as cut and dry, It shouldn't be propaganda. What you should be looking for is more of this rich mythology, right? Where the hero goes off on his journey. Where you actually think, it's almost just like Star Wars. I'm a Joseph Campbell man, right? You want to deal with this rich, beautiful mythology and this history where you could see somebody like Darth Vader, and then they went back in time and they showed you, even though those films were just like, god-awful, there are a bunch of, these actors were just dry. They're just like standing there delivering their dialogue. I'm not talking about the original 3 Star Wars, obviously. Those were great. It was more like the one with Samuel Jackson and all that stuff. But as far as the storyline is concerned, you could see a young Darth Vader, and he's an altruistic kid. Something has to turn them evil, right? And something has to turn the other brother towards the good side, right? Where they're starting off in this not so cut and dry arena. Yeah, your brother's from the streets. Yeah, you're a cop. Now take a look at Brooklyn's Finest. That's one of my favorite films. Take a look at the director as well. I think it's Antoine Fuqua. I mean, just amazing director. And you have these characters. I can't remember his name. Ethan Hawke. He's married to Lily Taylor. He's a Catholic, and he's got all these kids. And he's a police officer, and he walks in. He's doing all these drug busts, and he walks in. And there's stacks of paper like this. Right? What's going to stop him from taking some? I urge you to see Brooklyn's Finest. It really is truly amazing. Great film. And so this is the type of gritty story that I'm talking about. But you want to use an actor like Jay Farrow. I mean, there's a lot of actors out there, but he just comes to mind because he's really so talented. And he's one of these people, once they leave that, you have a small television series or you're on a show or something like that, and then you get a little bit of play after that, and then you go off to Never Land somewhere. Again, you want somebody who's probably not known for their grit to kind of play gritty, right? You want to kind of play against type, and that's where I'm going with this story today. Now, don't forget, tomorrow I'm going to be back. And I'm going to be talking about Linoleum Blownapart. I'm going to be talking about the next film. But I just needed to take a little bit of a break from that today. And I'm here with all the families and at the park. It's time for me to go inside the library and get a little bit of work done. So yeah, that's me. Hey, I'd cry too, kid, if anyone cared. Thank you very much for watching my show. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know.